This is the second part of the YouTube videos for LJU 4802. I am now going to address Learning Unit 1. So if you have problems with Learning Unit 1, you only have to watch this part or this link to the YouTube videos. Once again, I just remind you, this is the study guide that you need. So if you go through your study guide, you will see that there's Roman numbers at the bottom and it goes up to page 9 in Roman numbers. These pages are for reading only. You do not have to study those pages. This is background. This is explaining to you what is ethics and how to think in an ethical way or a morally acceptable way. So there will be no questions. But what I want to emphasize is on the bottom of page Roman 9. There is in a block. It's a silly example, but I think this is in a nutshell what we here at UNISA would like to teach you in this subject. The example that we give there is that for the Law Society give guidelines on what you can charge per consultation. I think per consultation now it's 780, I've heard it somewhere. But they also give guidelines what you can charge for telephone calls, for scans, for emails, sending a postage somewhere or whatever. So let's say we pretend, this is now hypothetical, that the Law Society allows you to charge 50 Rand for a telephone call that you make on behalf of your client. So you've got this client and you need some information, you take your telephone and you call. But the person you're looking for is not there. Therefore, the call doesn't last a minute. Someone picks up, you say you want to speak to Mr. So-and-so, he's not there, the call is ended. Now, according to the Law Society, you can now invoice 50 Rand. But what will Telkom charge you? 1.32 Rand, something there? And now we ask, what should you do? Should you go for the maximum? Or should you either not record the telephone call or a more reasonable amount, let's say 3 Rand or 5 Rand? The difference between the two decisions, if you go for the 50 Rand that are prescribed, that is fine. You are completely ethical. But then, as we carry on through this study guide today, you will see that you are a rule-based person. You follow the rules. And your behavior is, as long as I follow the rules, that is good enough, I am an ethical person, etc. But if you charge less, then we will say you could be a more virtuous person. And we will also discuss that. Meaning, irrespective of the rule, irrespective of what is required of you, you are the better person. And that is what we teach in this module this year. We want you to know that there are guidelines, there are prescriptions for attorneys and advocates. And yes, there are codes of conduct. And yes, you will know what is expected of you once you go into the profession. But we want you to be better people, to care for your clients, to walk the extra mile, not to accept bribes, not to become corrupt, but be ethical lawyers. Okay, so let's officially go to Learning Unit 1, and I am on page 1 of your study guide. There you will see the heading, what is the meaning of the term legal ethics? That term has two parts. The first one is legal and then ethics. This is a very nice question, and if you look at previous question papers, you will see that we usually ask this as question 1. The biggest problem is that the students do not read. What do I ask? Do I ask ethics or do I ask legal ethics? There's a difference. If I just straightforwardly ask, what is ethics? Then you must tell me it is open and applicable to every person. And you can give that example of the Nazis, you can reinvent your own example, whatever. I think I've changed it in the new guide to ANC and not Nazis anymore. I don't know. But anyway, you can give then the example and you explain what ethics is. Now, if I ask, and then you don't go on and explain to me what legal ethics is, because that was not the question. I just ask ethics. So you stop. If you go further and you explain to me what legal ethics is, you're wasting time because that is not relevant to the question. But if I ask, explain the term legal ethics, then you need to explain ethics first and then apply it to the legal profession. So then you will give me everything that is under that heading. So first clue, read the question. Do I just ask ethics or do I ask legal ethics? Okay, and a question like that can count 5 marks, maximum 10 if you look at previous exam papers. Then when I go to page 2, you will see the heading there, professional codes. This is what we call an easy shopping list question, meaning you don't have to think. You either know it or you don't. So it is on page 2. There are 7 dots. You need to know those 7 things. If I ask you what is the purpose of a code, you will also see that it was asked end of last year, and the amount of waffling that I received. You cannot waffle. You cannot waffle. You must know. So that is a possible question, as I say, 7 marks. Then we come to the criticism of professional codes. Now these professional codes are criticized from within the profession themselves and from without, the clients or the public. They criticize these codes. This is a nice question for 10 marks. 5 marks, then you explain the insider criticism, in other words, the professionals themselves. What are their critiques on this? And then the outsider criticism, what does the public feel, or why do they criticize the legal profession? So that is on page 2 and 3, and that could be a question of 10 to maybe maximum 15 marks. So I turn over to page 4. What is a profession? Go to previous exam papers, you will see it has been asked. There are 8 bullets, and then the students call me and they are furious and they say, but the question counted 10 and ma'am, there's only 8. I know. If you give all 8 plus a little bit of an introduction, which is just above the 8 bullets, then you will get the full 10 marks. Even if you don't give a little bit of an introduction and you give the 8 bullets, you will get the 10 marks. But then your 8 bullets must be factually correct, as it is on page 4. Then bottom of page 4, top of page 5. Oh, this is an ugly question. You will see that it is asked regularly and the students perform terribly. You will, those of you repeating, doing the supplementary, you will see that we've reorganized the study guide. So we feel maybe by the reorganization of the study guide that the students will now understand it more. I don't know, we are hoping for it. But we've asked these questions. What are the core values of a good lawyer? And it starts on page 5. First of all, honesty and trustworthiness. And forgive me for thinking what is happening in our courts nowadays, but yeah. A lawyer must have honesty and trustworthiness, good judgment, and if you turn over to page 9, objectivity. It is easy to know these things. It is sort of obvious that that is expected of a lawyer, but you need to give me facts to mark. So you must go in your study guide on page 5 under honesty and trustworthiness. Just on page 5, that big part, there are 12 facts. So take your guide, underline, look what I have done. Underline it, highlight it so that there are 12 things that you can answer there. Under good judgment, on page 6 to page 7, you will see there more or less a third from the top, or the second part. In answer to this particular question, Kronman proposes that you choose law as a career. Why? This is an excellent question for 30 marks. For 30, maybe 20 marks. Why does Kronman feel you should choose lawyering as a career? And then it starts there. He finds that many people enter the legal profession because it offers great opportunities for wealth and prestige. And it should not. It should not. And then he elaborates. You must go through what he says on page 6 and page 7, because we can ask what Kronman suggests lawyers should do, or why you should choose law as a career, and why Kronman specifically suggests that. So be careful, go and do not just read it, mark it, highlight it. Make sure that you can at least take out of page 6, page 7, page 8, and it goes on to page 9, that you can have 30 facts, because this can easily be a question of 30 marks. What does Kronman say? What does Kronman suggest? What does Kronman offer as criticism, and how Kronman see we can change it? So it is page 6 to page 9. Very important. Then under objectivity on page 9, that is just short. You need to explain that a lawyer needs to be objective. You should put your own emotions, your own ideas aside and look at facts objectively. Okay, then this is the end, but before I end off, I just want to say again, the question can come in two different ways concerning the makeup of the good lawyer. It can either be, we want you to discuss everything, then it includes honesty and trustworthiness, good judgment and objectivity for 30 marks. It's not necessarily 10, 10, 10. You must be careful, there are more facts on good judgment than on objectivity. But you will see in a previous paper this is a possible question. Or we can change completely and just ask Kronman. In other words, then we just focus on good judgment. And we can ask Kronman on his own for a question of 30 marks. And then you answer page 6 up to page 9. Okay, this is the end then of learning unit 1. Not very difficult, but we will carry on with learning unit 2 soon. Thank you.